Bro, most people don't know the secrets of what this Kundalini thing actually is from a science and a spiritual perspective. You don't know what I know, son? I'm not your son, bitch. What if I told you that there's a scientific explanation for how it works that was so interesting that certain three-letter agencies secretly studied it, and now we have the released documents to prove it? What document are you talking about? Well, everyone knows about the gateway process stuff. And in that document, they mention a guy named Iztok Bentov, and how a lot of the document is based on his work. And his work explains the Kundalini process. So I went beyond the document that everyone's looked at, and I dug deep to understand the science of the Kundalini and what these agencies were so deeply interested in. Let me tell you, it's wild. Well, tell me then. Well, first, you need to understand why it's so misunderstood. It's because when you activate it, it's kind of like having, stick with me, the power to use the Force. Okay, buddy, now you're memeing me. Listen, relax, Barb. What I mean is that you can use the power for good, or it can overrun you and turn you evil. And it's no wonder all the Christians scream, demons! Because think about it. If you were a Christian and you saw a Jedi doing Jedi shit, you'd automatically call it evil because that's what you're programmed to believe. But it can still be dangerous if you aren't ready, which is why you need to reach a certain level of consciousness before you activate it, or you might cause major psychological and physical issues. But we'll get into that and its mechanisms a little bit later on. First, we need to go big picture. What's the purpose of this whole Kundalini shit? Well, according to our boy Bentov, the Kundalini activated is the next step in the evolution of human consciousness, specifically the next step for the human nervous system. Think of the body as a vehicle that is constantly evolving. Bentov has a model of the Kundalini process he calls the Physio-Kundalini syndrome. This model has been scientifically studied, by the way, and corroborated in books like Kundalini, Psychosis, or Transcendence, where they studied many individuals that had so-called Kundalini awakenings and found that Bentov's model seems to be accurate through a lot of analysis of their own case studies of a lot of different people. But there's levels to this shit. Let's go one step deeper. Now, Bentov's model actually works off another guy's model of the nervous system. That's Hans Sell, which in his book, The Stress of Life, he explains that when a body is filled with stresses, the nervous system is so busy handling them that its potential for attaining higher states of consciousness is super limited. Basically, there's too much jitteriness, or in kind of technical terms, too much noise in the system, which prevents the nervous system from rising to another level or evolving. And all schools of meditation emphasize the importance of calming down the body. But of course, the stresses in the system are actually energy patterns, and they have to be converted and eliminated and alchemized, whatever you want to call it, from the body. So let me get this straight. You're telling me that if there's too many frequencies making too much noise inside of our nervous system, we feel stress, and it keeps us from evolving our nervous system through the Kundalini? So is that why we're bombarded by frequencies all the time? Maybe. But I think the important part is that the Kundalini process is actually meant to be what Bentov calls the ultimate stress relieving mechanism. But if the process is done wrong or prematurely, then it can cause what institutions might call psychosis. How can you do it prematurely? Well, there's those main ways. Number one,